Here you can see I have the yoke, and let's see what that'll look like across the back. So here's my purse, is the back yoke, and then the collar will come down over that. It is indeed time to start sewing. And this is a knit, so I'm going to use the largest size knit needle that's available, which is a 90/14. It appeared as if I already had one of those in my machine, and I didn't feel like it was used up, so I had stored it here on my pad, which I love for needle storage. All of these need to be identified according to the striping colors at the top of the shank of the needle. I only use Schmetz needles in my machines, and Schmetz will work in all machines. In fact, Schmetz or Oregon make the majority of sewing machine needles that are available today. I do have a video just on sewing machine needles that I'll put a link to in the description of this video. What's going to be very important for me as I'm sewing on this very thick sweatering fabric, especially 2 layers of this felted bulky cable sweater, is that I make sure that my presser foot is down. If you sew with the presser foot up, you will not have any tension on the upper thread. You'll clog up your machine and you'll have a mess. So I always have to remember to lower my presser foot. This machine is very smart, and it wouldn't even let me sew if I tried to. The other thing is I've increased the stitch length to 4. It's heavy, thick fabric, so I have to put more thread in each stitch in order to get through that fabric. Let's see here what happens. I'm going to be stitching at a perpendicular direction to the cables of the sweater, so that's all that's giving me my guide at this point. I had wound a bobbin but then forgot to replace it, so here you see how much even that white thread in the bobbin sinks down into this knit. And here I am with the seam sewn. I managed to match things up pretty well. So now I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do with that bulky seam. Here then is what that seam looks like. I top stitched on either side. I really have to help this move through the machine. And then I chose to just trim the excess seam allowance up to the stitching. I was using 4.5 stitch length. Now here's the first sleeve that I cut. To get the mirror image, I'm laying it right side down on top of the other one. And I think in this case, I'm going to match the heavy cabling. So I'm just going to endeavor to match those at both sides. And then I'm going to use the one sleeve upper portion that I cut as my pattern to cut the remaining one, but again, right sides are together. I have also taken my sleeve and visually divided it into 3 parts. And so the top is green, the middle is going to be red, and I was very clear here for myself as I start to cut the red, that the red piece goes from this green line, which is the cutting line, here's the seam line, to the seam line and the cutting line. So my red part goes from here to here. Now I'll have to go hunt and see if I have that, but I believe I do. And then the lower portion that's going to blouse, and since it's going to blouse, I'm going to cut this straight down instead of tapered, will be of the light green. Let's review then where we're at. I've got the bottom, I've got what looks to be our left front, I've got the left yoke, I've got the right yoke, and I've got the upper sleeve on both sides, and I've got the back yoke and the back around to here. Now, does it not make sense that I've got to fill this in and sew this seam before I can cross it with the yoke? So cutting this light green is my next challenge. You have to let go of perfection if you're going to do upcycle sewing, is one of my main conclusions, because this left front is offset. This is to the left of the center front. In order to cut the light green, I had to add this to this half pattern so that flipped upside down, as you can see here, the printing's upside down. If I lay this right side down on the green, now I have determined how big I need to cut the front. And now again, I have keyed up the seam lines of the bottom part of the seam here at the armhole, and you can see I need to cut the green from here all the way to here. Here, I need to make that a little more defined for myself. And then how long. I'm not going to worry about this excess width in here because I want it to be kind of boxy anyway. And again, a girl can change her mind. I'm getting a little confused myself as to if I try to cut this all in one piece, how far I need to come over here. My brain's just not functioning and my helper here is not helping. So I believe I'm going to have a seam on the green side of the underarm because there's different sides to the green and I might want to add some interest with the back and the front being different anyway. That's my new plan. So I will endeavor to cut this front piece out at this time because I know I have figured that out properly. I also realize that I have got very little left of the red. So actually, do you see I have 2 sleeves and this hunk, which this hunk is not all that big. I have taken my sleeve pattern and checked to see if indeed these sleeve pieces will yield what I need for this red center area of the sleeve, and indeed they are. So I'm going to cut those as well and get those joined to my upper sleeve portions that I have already cut. I have some cutting and some sewing to do, and then I'll be back. I cut one of those red pieces for this section out, and I really didn't have enough width from here to here. So I came to my ironing board, I pinned down one end, and then I really blocked. I steamed and pushed this to stretch it, okay, to make it longer. Now, hot forgets and cold remembers, so I need to let this lay here for a while, pinned so that it's going to remember that it needs to stay that big. All right, so I'm doing some blocking and steaming to get things to be the size that I need them when they're just a little bit too small. Looking at my available green, there's 2 sleeves and one of them has a hole in it. And here's the body and here's another piece. So that is all I have. And what I need to get is the bottom of the sleeves and both the front here and the back here. And friends, I'm not sure if I have that much available. So this could be a challenge. Checking to see here if the available sleeve worked this way gives me the depth that I need, and no, it does not. Well, I went to the garage and to my green stash, and here's a felted wool skirt, but I certainly don't like that color. And this is a skirt from my freshman year in college back in 1970. When I obviously had a 28-inch waist. Has potential, but not with this garment. So if my sleeves were not full length, I could get the bottom portion out of these 2 pieces. And if I put a strip down the front of red, which I have enough length for here, and I cut the right front out of this, then that leaves me from about here over and up that I could piece together something, I think, for the back. So I'm going to start sewing and see where I can go, because I just really don't want to, actually, I don't want to tempt myself by going to the thrift store, especially the day after Thanksgiving. Nah, I'm going to challenge myself and try to eke this out. Okay, I could not resist. I decided that that light green fabric just did not have enough body to work with this these wool felted pieces. And I thought if I could go to City Thrift and find a cream white heavy fabric to work with where I was going to use the light green, that would be a better solution than working too hard to make the light green work. So $26.58 later, at half price the day after Thanksgiving, here's what I found. So let us evaluate these. This is like a polar fleece jacket, It's Lamoda, nice big size. Actually, I think it's a cape. So it's still soft enough that it could make those sleeves. It has a little bit of yellow to it, but yet it's pretty and it's got some texture and it's a little lighter weight, but yet it has much more body than that lightweight green one did. This one caught my eye. It's acrylic, which is not my favorite. Now it's much lighter weight. And as I feel it here, and I just pulled these out of the washer and dryer, this one has the same problem of being too lightweight. But here's an inspiration. See that cute little V and this ruffle? So that has some good potential, but not for this project. Here's one of the first ones that I found, and it is a cotton. Yep, cotton, and you can see between these two, it's a little grayer than this one. This is a little warmer. But if we took that one away and added this one, and it's heavy and it's got cables, so that carries through that design motif. I really do like this one. And there's plenty of fabric here. So I think that's a number one at this point. I also found this rabbit fur. It's a Cynthia Rowley. It was an extra large, but it started to felt up here nicely, but it's still fairly lightweight. I really know that this is going to have to be washed a couple more times to felt completely, so I'm not going to use that one either. Here's another heavy cabled sweater, and it's cabled throughout, and it has a turtleneck on it. This is a big one. Again, it's cotton, which I would prefer over acrylic. As I'm feeling this, it didn't get dried all the way. I'm going to have to put it back in the dryer. But indeed, cotton. Now this one is more yellow, and this one is more white. And between the two of those, I could use either one. But since I was finding so many while I was there, I decided I could do just a melange, a collection of different creams in a sweater upcycle as well. That being said, this polar fleece one seems to blend better with this one than this one. So I believe I'm going to keep those two, which is taking me back then to this one. And if you'll recall, it's the one that had the cables on it, and I really like that. I also found this, which was a real find. This is a Ann Taylor. It's a large. It has a little bit of gold in it, gold metallic, and I like that as well. It was cut cross grain, as you can see, for the front. It has the sleeves. It has nice cuffs with this bulky thing here at the bottom of the cuff. The weight of it has more body than the green did. Definitely takes you a different color direction than this. Honestly, I think it's a little richer looking, and the green, the yellow and the green here in this sweater seems to blend in with this one nicer. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn here. I think if I had to choose, I would choose this. But again, the body, because this has got to go into the front and the back. You know what? As much as I like the coloration of this, I think the body and the bulkiness of this one is better. I say one thing and then I change my mind. And then the very last one, I found this almost full-length furry, what is the fiber? The fiber is acrylic, not my favorite. I don't know why, just through the years I haven't really loved acrylic. It does have this nice rib all down. Okay, well, I've decided to use this furry sweater because it has the look of bulk, it's pretty bulky, and I have a lot of fabric to work with. And I'll probably have a piece of red like that, down here so I could attach this to this, and then the white will go here. Right now I've maybe got a yoke of green there and here. If I put the whole white sleeve on this side, that would kind of balance the white here. And then in the back, on this sleeve we'll make just the bottom of it white, and in the back white goes in here. So at this point I really just need to start setting some of these vertical pieces together. Now I'm trying to decide exactly how I'm going to do that. I didn't leave much of an equal seam allowance here along this cable. So realizing how much bulk I'm dealing with, I believe I'm just going to stitch this on top here, and then I may come back with this little piece of ribbing, stitch it on top to finish that off. Time to go sew. Well, I'm getting to the end of this sweater upcycle. I will tell you that I have about given it up and thrown it in the trash several times. After sleeping and coming back to it this morning, I think I've got it under control. Sewing through bulk has been really a challenge. I increased the presser foot height on my fancy machine here. I have kept the pressure the same, but what I find I need to do is to really, with this wonderful stiletto, mush things down right up at the needle as I work. Look at the bulk that I have here. I have graded the seam so that the garment is much less than this wool. And I've got this at 3.5 wide, 3 long. I probably should have started out with it a little bit wider. I'm going to try to hold the camera as I also stitch here. I don't know if this is going to be possible. It really takes 2 hands. You definitely have to have needle down. I don't think I could do this on a mechanical machine without needle down. If you get your finger too close, you're going to nick it. And see, I've already done that through my nail. But I really have to let the stiletto get right up under the needle in order to control things. Here you have my final project. I didn't include it in the other videos, but you can see that I did actually totally go with the white nubby last added sweater for the soft sleeves. In fact, I used the sleeves as they were with the original cuffs, which saved me some time, which at this point was very welcome. Again, I almost gave up on this garment, but as I tell my students, sewing teaches persistence, and it became just an issue with me that I wanted to finish this garment to create something that I really liked, and indeed I do. I hope you do too, and that you learned something from this. I have it down for sale at the local Mission boutique called Taylor Lane Boutique at 111 Liberty in Jackson, Tennessee. My mission is to share all I know about sewing here on my channel so that you can come to love sewing just as much as I do.